So I finally watched M. Night Shyamalan's Glass, the concluding chapter in the Unbreakable trilogy. I actually watched it twice. I felt that it needed a second viewing, and I'm happy that I watched it again because I did enjoy it more upon the second viewing. That being said, it was easily the weakest link in the trilogy, and that's kind of too bad. This review is going to contain spoilers, so if you don't want to hear specifics about the movie, I'd recommend tiptoeing out. I liked the way that it started out. I liked how it started out with kind of like action. A fight between David and the Horde, or the Overseer and the Horde. All this unrealistic superhero stuff going on, you know, that like we hadn't really been privy to. David's son is like sort of like reconnaissance for him, like looks up shit on maps and stuff like that and keeps radio contact with him, knowing what neighborhood he's in and whatnot while he's out there fighting crime. That was all really cool. Of course, James McAvoy is awesome as the Horde, and Samuel L. Jackson is great as Glass. And I like how the movie, like, it opens up really like epic, and then it kind of slows down. It's got more of an Unbreakable feel to it, like the pacing slows down and you get kind of like to examine these characters. And I thought that everything between the Horde and Glass, Mr. Glass, was just, it was nothing shy of brilliance. How intelligent he is, how he can recognize each of the Horde's personalities and sort of like appeal to them in their own way. He manipulated like, you know, a dozen people in the mind of this one man. It was amazing. It really does pay homage to like good old classic superhero stories. On that note, I will say that the movie did get, particularly in the second half, did get really heavy-handed in like the meta shit. I understand that Glass is kind of like the mastermind behind everything, and dude, like he really shows his full potential in this movie, and it's awesome. I'm not shitting on the character, but there are a lot of lines that are like, this is the moment where you'd have a, you know, a question mark bubble above your head or something. It wasn't that. It was something like, you know, a thought bubble above your head with a question mark in, I don't know. Whatever, some bullshit like that. At the end of the movie, all the people that have gathered, kind of conveniently, almost fate, it would seem, at the exact moment that this brawl is supposed to go down, Mr. Glass is looking at him, like walking down the staircase, and he's like, the main characters arrive for the final action. Mind you, these are not exact quotes. These are just the gist of what he's saying. And it's sort of like, yes, M. Night, we understand. We understand that that it's not coincidence. We understand that there's sort of like a fate pulling everything together. You've drilled it into our heads. Like, seriously, after the first movie, we got it. We understand what you were trying to say. And it really did kind of come across as like he was treating the audience like juveniles. The other thing that really bothered me about the movie is David Dunn's character, or complete lack thereof. Because where David Dunn has a bigger part in the first half of the movie, Mr. Glass totally takes over in the second half. And that's cool. Like, I get it. And upon second viewing, I appreciate it more because I understand that this movie was supposed to be about Mr. Glass. We had the origins of the Overseer already. We had the origins of the Horde. There were 2 movies based on each of these people, you know, so it's only fair that Glass would have his own movie. So I understand that. But nevertheless, David Dunn goes out like a punk bitch. I respect the hell out of M. Night Shyamalan for doing that. I really do. And it's not even the fact that he died. It's the fact that he went out like a punk bitch. I mean, literally in the second half of the movie, I'll be damned if he's got like 4 lines of dialogue. And that's not an exaggeration. Like, there's no like real sense of closure for his character. Like the whole train crash thing, how that tied in was awesome. And like how Mr. Glass meets his fate, that was awesome. The Horde's death was really sad. James McAvoy did such an amazing job that it's like you can really see like all of these characters dying, and they're all saying their last words together. But it's like David Dunn gets drowned in a damn puddle. If he had died fighting the Horde, that'd have been one thing. But he didn't. He fought the Horde to like a stalemate. And then while he was weakened from being in the water pit, these policemen who have that little tattoo of whatever organization this is supposed to be that monitors superhero activity, they just pick him up and drown him in a puddle. I don't know, man. I just can't help but feel that like that character deserved better than that. And there should have at least maybe been like a sense of closure. There's a solid, I want to say like 20-minute at least chunk of this movie that doesn't have Bruce Willis in it at all. They could have injected a scene in the middle of all that where Bruce Willis's son, or David Dunn's son, comes to visit him and basically says like, Dad, look, like, just tell them that, you know, you don't actually believe you're a superhero and we can just get out of here. And maybe David Dunn's sort of like, no, this is it. They, the people here know already, you know, like, and so sort of like, he knows he's taking his stand. He knows, maybe even sort of a recognition, like he knows there's not much further that he can go. And then after that, like he dies fighting the Horde. That would have been a way better send-off. It's kind of bothersome, honestly. Story-wise, it was really cool. M. Night had so many great ideas. I almost kind of wish that he had given it another year. I understand that you had 16 years in between Unbreakable and Split. I understand that. And this was he had always wanted this to be a trilogy. So I get the fact that he wanted to get it done. He didn't want to wait another 10 years, you know, when maybe somebody dies and can't be in it, or just doesn't want to be in it, or has a, you know, contract with somebody else. It's like, no, like, while these people are available, I want to film the last part of my trilogy. I just wish he had given it like one more year, because I feel like if he had just taken a little bit more time to kind of think about how he was going to piece everything together, it would have been a lot more smooth. But again, watching it a second time, I do really appreciate it. I do really appreciate his art, and that he really had the balls to kind of go in a direction that most people would have been afraid to. And there was something there. The movie really only needed like a tweak to go from mediocrity to absolute perfection. It's like I said, it's a mixed bag for me, because, you know, Unbreakable's a masterpiece, Split is a masterpiece in its own right, and while I like Unbreakable better, that's just because Split is a very dark movie. It's a harder movie to watch. But like, in terms of like their art form, they are equal. They are neck and neck. One is not better than the other. I personally was really hoping that they were going to have something like awesome. I did kind of brace myself a little bit, because there's only so much brilliance that one mind could come up with. But the thing that really frustrated me about this movie is there was brilliance there. There was a solid idea that came together really well, honestly. It was just a few things that were so bothersome that I couldn't let go of it. That being said, nothing against M. Night Shyamalan. This was his baby, and you know what? This is going to go down in history as like one of the most groundbreaking, like game-changing superhero sagas ever. Like years from now, this will probably pass into legend. They'll do other movies involving the Overseer and Mr. Glass and stuff. It's nice to see somebody come up with a clever idea for new superheroes that have never been written about before. I give M. Night Shyamalan tons of credit for doing that, and overall, even though the last act of Glass kind of lost it, it still is a really amazing trilogy. So whether you've seen Glass or not, I would recommend watching it. I would watch it a second time. Watch it a second time to digest it a little bit more. You know, I think you can like have a better understanding for what M. Night Shyamalan was trying to do. I look forward to his new movies. I was a little bit disappointed in this one, to be honest, but it's not a bad movie. It just had so much more potential that really wasn't utilized. All right, guys, that's all she wrote.